trenches. Ask a nigga what he benching. Triple digits, nigga, don't forget to mention. Whole hard in the trenches. Ask a nigga what he benches. Triple digits, nigga, don't forget to mention. Don't forget I got memories, dead stain the whole room if I let him bleed. Shit was dark, I let this little light him out.
All right, so Kendall Fuller. Over the last couple of days, fellas, and this, I guess we can be brief with this one, but there was a slight mention from Rhiannon Walker of The Athletic. She mentioned a couple times throughout a different days that Kendall Fuller was starting to get some looks at slot. And there was actually one moment where I believe she said that Benjamin St-Juste was almost playing exclusively with the ones, and Kendall Fuller was playing primarily in the slot. This was a couple days ago. And then you get coaches speak. Ron Rivera said after Sunday's practice that in terms of Fuller moving to the slot, that we have a very savvy player with a guy with a lot of experience in that position with some really good ball skills. It's been really good to watch him and see exactly where he fits in the scheme of things for us, not just as an outside corner, but as a guy who can potentially move inside and help us there as well. He said that after Sunday's practice, fellas, and I'm going to just turn it to you all, open floor. Mark, I'll give you the first stab since you gave Dre the first stab last time. Are we starting to see the transition of Kendall Fuller in the slot, or is this something that they're just going to continue to like experiment in practice and see if it works before they actually fully commit to this type of move?
I mean, I'm going to go back to KC. So if you think about his time in KC, where did he play the best? He played the best when he was playing in the slot or at safety. So they were rotating him around in those positions. They played him at boundary corner. He didn't perform like they thought he was going to. Not saying he was bad at any means, but yeah, he played better when he was playing in the slot. I think he was one of the highest rated guys next to the kid from the Chargers, who was a slot specialist. I think those two in that 1 year were the two highest rated slot cornerbacks. But he also played well at safety too when they put him back there and kind of monkey around with him a little bit. So I think we're going to see a little bit of mix of both. I think we're going to see him and William Jackson start off on the outside. I think you're going to see mixed coverages on both sides where Jackson's going to be tailing your best receiver, and they're going to be doing some other stuff opposite Jackson. So whether it's moving him around to play positional football, or whether it's just saying, hey, St-Juste, you take the bigger guy on the outside, you take the X receiver. Let's put Kendall, who tends to be a little bit quicker. Well, actually, I don't even know if that's true because St-Juste had a ridiculous three-cone drill. But yeah, I think it could happen. I think Kendall played his best ball in KC when he played inside and at safety.
Okay. And are you talking about Casey Hayward on the Chargers? I feel like that.
Yes, Hayward. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of his name, but yes, it was Casey Hayward. Yep.
Hey, that's the benefits of a computer, man. I can look it up right quick while you're talking. I forgot his name too. All right, Jay, where you at it, boss?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just think that's just why we all love Kendall Fuller in the first place. We love Kendall Fuller when he was here the first time. He's a very versatile cornerback. I mean, like Mark said, he can also play safety. He can play the outside. He can play slot cornerback, and obviously he played it pretty well in Kansas City. But that's why you go out and you get a guy like Ben St-Juste, because now you just strengthening that secondary up. Because like I said, now Kendall Fuller, who, he was obviously one of our best players last year, and now he's going to move into a slot corner at a position we've been burned at for years. So if he can play it, why not? And that's, like I said, that's the great thing about having a guy like Ben St-Juste. Now, this is assuming Ben St-Juste is, like I said, who they think he is. Then you have that option to move Kendall Fuller at a place that we've kind of been needing someone to be, pretty good at in the slot corner.
Fellas, I'm looking forward to it, man. I've said this a few times, and I've learned after last year just missing out on the opportunity to actually be at training camp. The most important thing is for all of us who are not at training camp, and for those who listen, I'll give him some credit too. I just don't want to make it seem like I'm taking off him. I'm not. It's my own opinion. But Kevin Sheehan has mentioned it a few times as well for those who are in the area. The best thing that you can do when you're not at practice is actually listen to what the coaches are saying. And the most important thing that the coach is talking about with Rivera and Kendall Fuller is the fact that they're experimenting the what this defense looks like with Kendall Fuller in the slot. And the more and more they realize that Kendall Fuller kind of performs better with that that ability to kind of play a little bit more aggressive in the slot versus I don't think that I think he's very passive on the outside. That's just my opinion. He doesn't really put his hands on the receivers as much. And in turn, without that physicality or without that aggressive nature that I think that he has in the slot versus on the boundary, there's a lot of people that kind of blows past him. And it's not all the time, but it happens. And with that being said, I think if they can find an opportunity to try and keep him exclusively in the slot and have those spot duties on the boundary, I think it works out for the defense. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. And the coach is kind of hinting towards that experiment. And over the past couple of days, as Rhiannon Walker has tweeted, and some people have noticed as well, they're looking at it, and I just hope that we do see it in the preseason as well. There's 2 more games, and yep.
Oh no, you ain't finished. Are you finished?
Yeah, I was gonna say there's 2 more games coming up, and just simply if we can get some looks with Kendall Fuller in the slot, I would love to see it, and just to see how if they are actually gonna give this some end game run as well.
Yeah, no, and while we were on the subject of cornerbacks, I wanted to get you all's opinion, especially Mark. I wanted to hear what he thought about Ron Rivera saying that Ben St. Juste could be a Charles Tillman type of cornerback, which was kind of high praise to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Peanut was no joke, man. He could play.
Absolutely.
But is Ben St. Juste is he similar to that? Is he that type of player? That's what I want to know.
Well, I can tell you from being a Big Ten fan and watching a ton of Big Ten football the last couple of years, I did not see St. Juste stand out. And it could have just been my ignorance that I wasn't watching. Minnesota is not a powerhouse football team that you usually see in and out, and they're not one of the perennial contenders in that league. So maybe it was just I missed a lot of games, the COVID year last year. I don't remember seeing him stand out a ton on film. So when we picked him, I had to go back and watch film again. And 2 things stood out to me when I watched that film was the footwork. I mean, for a big dude who's 6'3", he can move and he gets low and he sinks those hips over the balls of his feet, and you don't see him taking a lot of missteps. And the other thing I saw in him was eye discipline. And that's something that so many young cornerbacks, they're peeking into the backfield and they get burnt on double moves. He had very good eye discipline. He would play through the receiver with his eyes. And when I taught defensive backs, when I coached, I'm like, listen, you got to play through your receiver into the backfield. You can't just peek and give up. You got to watch the route. You got to watch the subtleness of the route. You got to watch the nuances of the receiver as he comes into his break, as he comes out of his stem. And then you got to read through him and look into the quarterback to see where the quarterback's eyes, shoulders, body language is going. Plus, you also have to read combos all around you. And that was something that stood out on film when I went back and watched it on St. Juste, that Benji had great eye discipline. And we saw many, many guys here over the last decade, we can all point them out, all 3 of us can, who got burnt because they would peek into the backfield too much. So I hope that he learned, and that's something that's very tough for a young cornerback to come into this league with that eye discipline. And if he has that, he's going to succeed because he's physical and he has the tools.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it stood out to me because, like I said, is when I think about Charles Tillman, I think of playmaker. I almost think about a playmaker in the mode of a D'Angelo Hall. I mean, these were guys who were a threat to get a pick 6 at any moment. So if Ben St. Juste is anywhere close to that, I mean, especially with Tillman, he had like a 14-year career or 12, 13-year career in Chicago, and he was a very underrated defensive player, one of the best cornerbacks of his era. And if Ben St. Juste is that's going to be a big-time pick for us.
Mm-hmm, I agree.
And another big time defender that we're gonna have to pay in a couple years. So hey, look, the better the players, the better the problem. So we'll see where it goes.
Whole hard in the trenches, ask a nigga what he benching, triple digits, nigga. Don't forget to mention. Whole hard in the trenches, ask a nigga.